So there we have card 3, and this is using the fancy lattice, but we're going to use it in a different way this time. Now, to create my card, the pieces that I've cut are 2 of the largest from the Grand Labels, and I've hinged those together to create my base. Then from Enchanted Labels 28, I've cut myself one of the frames. From the Grateful Lattice, I have cut myself 2 of the frames, and I've trimmed out these side pieces as I explained to you in card 2, and that will give me a nice neat lattice for my cards. So you need that twice. Then from the Asian Accents, I've cut myself one of the circles that's been stamped and embossed in silver, and that's got my sentiment on it. So these are the pieces that I need to create my card. Now, with one of the pieces of the lattice work, it's going to sit inside this framework. So what I need to do is just glue around these wide sides and pop it nice and neatly on top of the lattice work in the position that I want it. And then with some scissors, I'm just going to trim, without damaging this frame, I'm going to trim that lattice piece underneath so that it sits inside that frame. So once you have that cut nice and neatly in place, you're going to take your second piece and you're going to trim that down, take out the side panels just the same as you did the first one. So what you're going to do now with this second piece is it's going to sit underneath, but what we're going to do is just turn it around. And then once you sit that underneath, you have a completely different pattern to your shape. So make it nice and neat so that everything marries up. And then you're going to glue that in place underneath, and you're going to trim around the edges so that it sits under that frame. So I've glued it around the outside edges, and now all I'm doing is just tucking my scissors underneath the framework and just snipping out the pattern that I don't need. And then once that's pressed in place again, there's my new grid work. So once I have this grid work, I need to have it on a panel that will be on the front of the card. Now this is the die that the original size was cut from, but I want a mat that's slightly smaller. So I'm taking this die and all I'm doing is just drawing around the inside. And then once I've done that, I'm going to cut that out, and that will give me a slightly smaller mat than the front of my card. Now once I've cut this piece of pink card, I've embossed it, and then with some foam tape I'm going to add that to the front of my card. Then the next thing to do is, with your trellis work, just around the edges I'm going to add in some foam pads, and that's going to sit along the top of that pink panel. Now before I add this to the front of my card, I'm going to wrap some ribbon around it and glue it on the back, and then those workings will be hidden once that is placed on the card. So once that's added to the card, I've created a double bow, and that's just going to sit along the front of the card. Now I've added layers to the lining, and I've wrapped some ribbon around it, and that's just going to sit inside the card along there. And my final touches for the front of my card are, I'm going to add a lovely pearl and diamante embellishment to cover the knot. That's just going to sit along there. And then in each of the cross sections I'm going to add in some pink pearls just along here. So there you have a third card, another different colourway, But altogether some really pretty cards for you to make from the dies that you've already collected.